Hi everyone, it's Karen here and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you came back to watch another one of my videos. Today's video is about cards and I created two very easy to make cards using Altenew's Layered Stencils. This is the Layered Daliah Stencil and it comes with two separate stencils that can be layered on top of each other. You can either buy one stencil or both. The beauty about these stencils is that you can create an amazing pattern with two different colors and they layer on top of each other. So I first started with the first stencil, which is stencil A, which gives you the background of the flower. And I took two Distress Oxide inks. I took the Spice Marmalade and the Fossilized Amber and just mixed them together. They are very similar in color, but they still have different hues and it's really nice to combine them together as I really wanted to have both colors on the background. I used my blending tool to just blend them around and create a beautiful background for the first layer. Then I took the second layer and this time I am using a darker color because this is the layer that gives you all the details. So I took the Vintage Photo color from the Distress Oxide inks and I basically rubbed it on top. You can use any type of inks to do this double layering. The reason why I wanted to use the Distress Oxide inks is because they're very highly pigmented and give a really nice deep color to the background. You could also use sprays or paste, embossing ink, or anything that you want. The possibilities are endless. Look how beautifully it layers. I just really love the results and the fact that you can also use them on their own. I went ahead and wanted to create a second card just to play around with the Distress Oxide inks. And I went ahead and did the same thing, which is blend the two colors that I had used before with the first stencil. However, this time I wanted to have the ink react with water. So when I was finished adding all the ink, I went ahead with my spray bottle and while the stencil was still on, I splattered a little bit of water on top of the stencil. I apologize that the spray bottle was off screen and you can't see me spraying, but I did actually spray and then used a paper towel to dab it out. This is a very important step, to have a paper towel handy so you can dab out the water that is pooled on top of the ink. One of the tricks with this technique is to let the water sit a little bit and then wipe it off with the paper towel. That way it creates really beautiful splatters in the background. I did the same thing with the second stencil and added the Vintage Photo ink on top of the second stencil to get those details. The nice thing about the Distress Oxide inks is that they layer really nicely on top of each other, which was perfect for this layered stencil. I wanted to splatter it again on top of the Vintage Photo and I took my spray bottle while the stencil was still on and then used the paper napkin again. The reason why I kept the stencil on while spraying is because I wanted to make sure that the water only reaches the areas where the ink was and not go in between the grooves of the flower. To assemble the card, I cut out an orange 12x12 cardstock into two 6x6 note cards, and then I added a smaller brown cardstock inside and then a white one. Each one of the mats were 1/8 of an inch smaller than the previous one, and I wanted to have a white one right underneath the flower because I wanted to mat it in white to give it a really nice border and matching the rest of the grooves of the flower. I also cut two rectangles to have them for the sentiment of the card and glued them to the background. I also forgot to mention that the paper that I used for the background is Strathmore Bristol smooth paper. and it comes in a paper pad. I'm listing it below, as well as all the other products that I use today. Finally, to add the sentiment, I used the Thanks die from the Altenew collection and cut it in the orange cardstock to add in the center of my rectangles. This die comes also with a stamp set that is really beautiful, and I could have stamped it in the center of the rectangles, but I was really lazy and I really wanted to finish the card, so I just went ahead and cut it out. However, I did want to add a small sentiment from that stamp set, so I took my acrylic block and some of the vintage photo ink, and I went ahead and stamped a heartfelt thanks on top of the thank you die. Finally, I went ahead and added a few drops of the Nouveau crystal drops in white, just to add a little bit more fun embellishment to the background. These cards were quite easy to make, and I really love the beautiful result that you get with the layered stencil. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends on social media. For more inspiration, subscribe to my channel and visit me on my website to subscribe to my newsletter so you won't miss any more posts. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye!